Hey guys, Mustached Tom here to review The Killer's Game. So, I saw the trailer for this a few times actually, so I guess pretty decent promotional things considered, so I decided to give it the good old checkout. With that being said, we begin this movie learning that our main character, named Joe, or Joseph, is an assassin. And he is a part of a killer's game, as it appears to be titled. However, despite being able to do all of that, he suffers through these migraines from time to time after doing some successful assassination missions in this play, or this ballerina dance, where he meets his new love interest in Amaya. With that, he meets her gaze, and then he goes to his secure place, and then we cut to him having a brain scan due to that migraine we were seeing earlier, and we'll get an update on that fairly briefly. And he's told by his boss, essentially, to take a vacation and to find someone to settle down with. So, he decides to ask this woman named Macy, the dancer, and ends up indeed going on to proceed to date her, or at least try to. So he goes on how he's retiring from retiring other people, or like helping people retire, quote unquote. That's his job. So I guess a transitional job, I guess that would be. And Macy briefly talks about, and this isn't the first time these two things have been compared, of boxing and ballet being something that can easily injure you, though I think the previous comparison was ballet and football, because football is also very known for injury. So it's been a while since I've heard that terminology of the super masculine thing versus the super feminine thing, as far as common perception is concerned, right? But despite that, with ballet, there's the easy potential for injury, and then again, like in boxing, you're slugging it out, so again, really easy to get injured. So, I guess it's a fair or apt comparison. Or, as fair as, like, as opposing as the, far ends of the spectrum of gender you can push, I guess. Anyway. So, despite that, they go on a little montage. Now, I will say that this montage does... I know montage is a bit of a cheat, right? It's supposed to purvey this idea that a certain number of days are passing by, or months, or whatever. What's presented looks like days, but then later on in the movie it appears that it is actually months that they've actually been together, because she finds out that she's pregnant, and I believe in taking a pregnancy test, I'm not actually sure when that would actually show. So whatever that time frame is, I'm not a professional in knowing when a female would show signs of pregnancy. I don't know. Anyway. So yeah. he's having, he's living a pretty good life, at least romantically speaking, but his job is still what it is. So, and during this montage, it's him killing separately, and then her like dancing practice stuff, and then them making out and all that stuff. So he meets with his boss again, and decides to tell him about Macy. And the boss informs him is that there's this clean way of getting out of the work, or you leave in a body bag. There are only two ways of quote-unquote getting out, though that does seem to be the first instance, I think, in a movie where someone implied that you can get out once you're in the assassin gig. Like, in every other iteration of, like, this person is an assassin, it's always been, you're in, and, if you try to get out, the people that are still in, they're gonna hunt you down for the rest of your life. That seems to be the trope, that's a lot more typical, so a bizarre flip. I'm not sure it really makes a lot of sense, but I don't know. So yeah, they hang out together some more. We got a little double date where the boss tries to tell him to tell her what his real job is. And during his birthday, of all days, he gets informed by his doctor, the one he went to go see the migraine for, is that he has some CGD, acronym for whatever disease this is. I forget what the other two words were for, but in that there's currently no cure, and that he will have only 3 months to live. With this info dump allotted on him, he figures that, he can't take himself out. Apparently, life insurance does not cover that. Suicide, that being. And furthermore, that's just about, and obviously he's probably not going to suddenly ask her to do it. That would probably, she wouldn't, she's outside of that realm. So he goes to his boss to try to get him to place a bounty on him, to have other people go after him. But the boss respects him so much that he rejects it regardless of the price. That's a good character quality. I actually do appreciate that. So he goes to one of his rival assassins and tells her to do the thing, but to give him X amount of time. I believe it's 24 hours, or 12, or whatever amount. She accepts this offer and puts the bounty out. We see the first bounty acceptance guy, played by Terry Crews, I believe that is. Or as he's known in the movie, what was his? I think his name was like something Doll. It wasn't Baby Doll, was it? I'm looking in my notes, because I think I wrote it somewhere once. It was like, I think it was like Face Doll or something Doll. Anyway. So he initially refuses, but we do see other groups and we see how they operate, aka how they kill, and specifically, and then proceed to accept the job. So he decides to record his final message to Macy and proceeds to make his way. Unfortunately, with the bounty already claimed, his doctor calls him later on and admits that he got the labels confused and the test results were all messed up, and it just turns out that his eyes are messed up, so that's what's giving him his actual migraines. So he tries to get it cancelled, but the lady boss refuses. So the assassins begin to move in, and thus our action officially is underway, where the assassins try to go after Joe. He kills them in brutal fashion, pretty unique, and then proceeds to make his way to another location and sort of come into contact with other assassins groups along the way. Like, for example, these two biker assassin guys, brothers, shortly after he dealt with the first assassin group, where he pipes one of them and kicks one using a bike, so they're heavy emphasizing on the, unique ways of how he's killing these assassins, on top of how these assassins operate and how they kill as well. Trying to make it a little bit more fancy rather than just every assassin group operates the same. We see these two, at least when they were on the accepting the job, they were posing as two female strippers, but then they were just assassins as well, and then they joined the fray. We see this dancer assassin by the name of Boltas, and he accepts the call. And later on, when I believe it's around this time where the bounty increases, which is when the first denier guy finally accepts and joins the fray as well. And he goes to capture Macy and then updates her about what Joe really does. So that's how she figures out, instead of having him tell her that. So another group of brothers eventually come across him at this church location, which is where the bulk of the rest of the fights take place here. He's able to swiftly split them apart, successfully using the terrain that he would know. I mean, he chose the location after all. Using these trapwire devices that he set up throughout this location. Then fighting Botas, the dancer one, shortly after. And then these mercenary type assassins, so they're just using guns. And using C4 and other devices to take them out. Oh, I guess his name was Love Doll. So, he's trying to not only assassinate, but he's, simultaneously looking at him as these other assassins are trying to claim the bounty, so he's trying to hold them off too, because he wants to be the one to, get it, at least now, at this moment. So there's this other guy who joined Mr. Doll in his adventure. Macy was with them because, again, he collected her. So she tricked the other guy, this fake, wannabe assassin, I guess I'll call him. So she gets away, and we see, again, Joe proceeding to make his way outside after dealing with the slew of people on the inside. But unfortunately, Macy is taken away temporarily. And Lovedull even wants the price up after his failure. But we learn that Macy is pregnant, as I had previously mentioned. Again, alluding to earlier that I guess more time passed than what the montage perceived us to do. Again, instead of a few dates, I guess they were just with each other for X amount of months. Maybe even up to a year, I'm not really sure. So, they end up in another church where he asks her to marry her and, confesses, and then proceeds to confess to the priest all of these kills that he's been doing all throughout his assassin career. And the priest says murder is murder, so I guess this priest doesn't believe in self-defense, which, oh boy, I mean, his church does get attacked, so we don't get to see his view change after that, unfortunately, which I think that would have been a nice, a good comical punch for it to affect his moral stance on being, I guess, a pure pacifist in that regard, if self-defense isn't even on the menu of, if you're being attacked. So the mercenary group is still too big, they still have more guys coming in. But the leader of the mercenary and him eventually get one-on-one after, again, that just ability to take them all out. But they're both out of ammo at that point, so they go toe-to-toe, or, in CQC, close quarters combat. And in this process of their fight, Macy takes up one of the guns and takes out, the main mark in her first kill. Then the boss of the killer game, Joe's boss, that being, goes after the female boss for apparently breaking the rules, I guess. Not honoring what Joe wanted, being the cancellation of his thing is against the rules. That part's still a bit unclear as to what exactly all of the rules of the killer game are. I mean, I think one of the hard rules is that there are no civilians to be killed. The people that the assassins go after already have some form of criminal record, are among the bad of the bad. That seems to be a rule that is established in the movie. However, I'm not sure what the second rule seems to imply. Again, if her not honoring his request, or even doing it in the first place, I'm not sure. I'm assuming it has to be the second one, but I'm not entirely sure. But I digress. And so, obviously, to wrap us up nice and neatly, the two ride off into the sunset after being married. And that is the killer's game. So overall, I would say, it's a pretty enjoyable action flick. We don't get too much character. I mean, you have pretty obvious setups of him already having militant experience versus somebody who clearly doesn't. And yeah, we have quite a few, again, assassination groups, which allots for these different, unique ways of dealing with them, and so on and so forth. So I think that's where most of the focus is derived on is executing more so on the action of the movie rather than, entailing a deep analysis of character. Again, we have a baseline of who these characters are, essentially, which I think is okay if that's, if you do want to focus a little bit more on action. I can understand that that would be something that would grab the attention of a pretty average audience, potentially. So I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10. Like I said, action's fine. Could have used a little bit more on character work, but again, I know that wasn't their focus, but it never hurts to have more character work. It only helps, so I don't see why not. Anyway, that's my review for The Killer's Game, and if you ended up enjoying it, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description, and when I'll head you over to my petition to help out smaller YouTubers, so get to my PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly, and there to my Discord server. We can join, collab, chill, all of that cool stuff for free. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.